How's it going?
I'm wishing I had all the money in the world so I could just order more pizzas instead of whatever I was supposed to be doing today.
Yeah. That's always helpful.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello. Yeah. Hi, Tammy.
Hi. I
Did
wish I
you-
was.
Did you have a happy Christmas and a good New Year?
It took place.
Is Aimee here?
I'm here.
Okay, yay! That means we're all here. That means
Woo!
Bleeding Tree Gaming is we're bleeding. We're bleeding. We're not bleeding.
This is the Treecast. Hello, Twiglets.
Hey, Treecast is filmed in front of a live studio audience of
Space Marines!
It's not even.
Hello.
Space Meeting clip.
It's not even filmed in front of a live studio audience of the three of us.
'Cause
at
we're
the
dead.
moment.
We've done gone digital.
It's probably not bleeding. My back doesn't bleed anymore. There's no more blood left. It's all just leather.
Leather's good. It makes a nice noise when you slap it.
You know what else makes a nice noise? Our podcast, and it is available through Acast on Spotify,
that
Deezer,
segue.
JioSaavn, Samsung, Amazon Music, Podchaser, whatever the heck Google and the other one are called. And we're working from slides, so we'll put the slides on screen if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you're not watching us on YouTube, we'll try to describe what we're seeing. And I'm running out of ways to artificially prolong this line of dialogue for the purpose of hogging the voice.
Yep. Well, go ahead. Find us on all these places. So yeah, it seems like it's been a while since we've last had one of these. It's a bit longer than usual because of the Christmas break. But what's everyone been up to?
Hey, Tammy, you haven't spoken. What hobby progress has Tammy made?
Well, see, I was wondering about where the line is between doing stuff for the channel as like work and actual hobby stuff. Essentially, I've been more on the work side than the hobby side, but it still involved getting stuff made and painted and such. Yeah, I put out the first of the solo coaster videos, which seem to have been received rather well.
Yeah, I'm still confused by that, but delighted.
Yeah, it couldn't be anything to do with the quality of the video or
No.
or really, really astute marketing strategies. It's just something happened and
If I
And
was
off it
cynical,
went.
I'd
No, it's done very well, and it's a good video, and yeah, well deserved. YouTube algorithm is a strange thing.
indeed it is. It seems to like the shorter video over the longer video. But then we can now start flooding the channel with coaster videos. A lot of the my effort has also gone into rearranging my printer room into a actual filming studio. So it is a space from which I will hobby, but a space from which I shall also work. So there is the work-hobby balance again. But at the moment, on my desk, there are 2,000 points of Old Hammer Blood Angels, ready to get
Very nice,
airbrushing
very nice.
and getting cracked on with. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
put some pictures of the army up on Instagram if you want to have a look at autumnwitch-btg. That's my Instagram, I think.
It still amazes me that with the point changes, that's 2,000 points of Blood Angels.
Well,
wait, what do you
it's
mean that was all
around.
2,000 points of Blood Angels? Ah!
It's around that. It is 100 power level, but let's not get into that old discussion.
I just...
I also finally picked up a couple of the older sculpts. I got the fine cast Dante and the steel metal Azrael, having seen that Azrael at least has been confirmed for getting a new model. So I thought, these sculpts have been around since I've been in the hobby. I think I was in the hobby before these sculpts came into it. So Yeah, I thought I might as well grab them. It's exactly the same Dante sculpt as was originally released, although it's now in Finecast. But yeah, he's going to be a bit further down the line leading this army.
You wanted to get the old way in before he gets a right goody Rubiconing.
Oh god, yeah.
I don't think
I
there's
am looking
anything
forward
in
to
the.
seeing you, Dante.
I'm not. I don't think there's any. They sell anything that's older than me in the hobby, or that's in the. If we count like the mid '90s trip to Scotland where my sister wanted to go in like the shiny unicorn store, and I was like, "It's a video game store. I'll go in there." What the hell is this shit? It's real. It's like, Mom, look, you can just paint little soldiers and little monsters. Like
And
they're
from
cars.
such humble beginnings.
It's like all those stupid cars all my friends play with, but it's interesting. Hey, Amy, you've been doing hobby stuff. You said something about a coaster video, but I don't think that was what you wanted to say.
I have. Well, I did the blending video recently, which I talked about. I painted a lot of stuff for that, a lot of half-painted things on my desk that I started to demonstrate something that, I kind of want to get back to and finish at some point. But yeah, on top of that, I came up with my cool neon Iron Jaws scheme for my new Age of Sigmar army. New year,
It does
new
look
army.
very pretty.
Yep, I've just gone all out trying to make it look as like just vivid colors as possible. So yeah, I've got this whole theme where they look like they're a clan that they hear the wah as like it's almost like kind of a mid-90s Prodigy song. So they hear that constantly and they're just like dancing around and causing destruction.
The War Dazers?
The what? Sorry?
The War Dazers? I'm
The
thinking
War
of the.
Dazers. Yeah.
So the coloration almost reminds me of the art installation Meow Wolf, which I can flex my cultured muscles because I've been there. But I think you did. It is a different color palette, and it's so you've got the. It looks like the Tom Veitch Cam Kennedy coloration for Star Wars was done for the skin, and then the armor that he's wearing looks like it's glowing hot pink. And then
Yep.
I don't know, the bones are made of ghost.
Yeah, the bones all like kind of have like phosphorescent, I don't know, like gunge coating them, and that's what they do. They like everything glowing when they march into battle. Yeah, so I really like the color scheme I've come up with. The skin is just something you probably wouldn't expect, and it's like a royal purple, and then like a very cold, it's emerald green from Vallejo, and then highlighted with sunny skin tone. So you've got like a purple, a green, and a flesh tone in there as your base mid-tone highlight, and it almost kind of looks like they're moonlit. I think it's a very fantasy color scheme for them.
That word. That's a good word.
Yeah, well, on top of that, I also finished Glutos or Scullion, which has been on my desk all year, and there was just so much to that. I tried to put in as much effort as I possibly could on it, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's done. It's out of the way, and I can move on to other projects. And since then, I've been working on some lovely tardigrades. I've got these for Bad Squiddo. I will have shared the pictures by the time this podcast comes out, but I'm just finishing them up now.
Really branching out there.
Yep.
No longer painting miniatures. Because the real ones are.
Yeah, these are much larger than actual scale. Yeah, so it's been a busy time. All that on top of Christmas and several other pressing commitments. How
Glutos
about yourself?
is the big guy on the chariot.
Glutus
Right.
is the big guy, yes.
Yes. So there's the spoken waypoint for the audio listeners.
That's optimistic.
I know there's one. An old friend mentioned to me that I hadn't put the podcasts on Acast, and whoops. I think I got the model for the model part of 14 Stormcast painted, and most of it painted on another 10. And yes, I'm counting the giant ballista as a Stormcast. No, I'm not counting the crew. I got a lot of these little suckers finished, and I feel like I've learned as a painter through obsessive repetition. In particular, the armor, the blue parts of the armor, I can now do much quicker because I changed the process to be messy, and then I cover it up with other stuff. And I've gotten comfortable just pouring wash onto things because apparently that's how acrylic washes work.
Yep.
Yeah, repetition is a very good teacher. Yeah, I'm certainly loving the look of your Stormcasts and looking forward to having an army to play against them with.
Thank you. I want to do something elaborate with the bases, and when I stuck a work in progress one up on Facebook, a couple of people asked how I did it, so I want to do a video of the bases. And I was going to try and film that before I went away, and then I realized each step of the video needs like a day for various things to dry, and I didn't have enough days, so I couldn't do it. And then when I got back, my fridge was full of fertilizer and the power was gone to downstairs. So I haven't done that yet. Woe is me. But Nottingham has surprisingly responsive tradesmen. Tradesmen. Well, okay. Anyway, so that was fun. And this is fun. And I'm feeling like this is all going to get done, but it's a bit dull.
Fair enough. Sometimes that stuff you just got to plow through. Well done. It's all looking good. What's been in the news lately? That's what we want to ask.
Then I didn't collect news over the vacation. I mean, I remember right before we went away, there was another round of Cursed City is made to order. This time it's the last time for real, guys. It was a very pretty departure from the Stormcast show that Age of Sigmar became, and had a fresh vibe compared to weren't the 90s great vibe of the previous Warhammer Quest fantasy offerings. What did these notes that I wrote? Anyway, we all remember the Cursed City was a mess. No one's quite sure why. Apparently, Peachy has interviewed him. Peachy's new job has interviewed Peachy where he works, and he's talking about something.
Yeah, I saw that video up. I haven't watched it yet.
I really hope the guy has something to do other than wait for his Games Workshop NDAs to expire and then talk about internal politics. But I guess it gets clicks. So fine. But yeah, no. So the card expansions went made to order for a while, and I liked the idea of the expansions not being bound, the models not being available only in the expansions.
Yeah.
But I think for £30, it was a bit much.
It is way too much. That should be something you can download for free because you've put up with all the crap that's gone on with Cursed City in the last however long it's been. It should be well, thank you for sticking with us. Have some free downloads, not here's 30 quid for a load of card.
I mean, we weren't charged money and then not given the product. I don't really feel like the audience has put up with crap as much as the hype around it has jerked everyone around.
There was a lot of people that wanted to get it and couldn't get it, and then it was always going to come back, and then it comes back as made to order, and some people still can't get it. They basically flubbed the release, and people are still sore about it. I mean, I think what they need to do with Warhammer Quest is do like a 2.0 version of the original Warhammer Quest.
I do like the Silver Tower thing where you with pre-rolling what you're doing, and I do like the kind of limited character advancement that it's got. I don't like the tiles. I don't like the tile floors. I think that just sucks up a good 10 minutes of everybody arguing over which triangle piece goes in the square hole. So if I had to design Warhammer Quest, I'd say talk to Hatchet, talk to the Partworks magazine and just give us a new adventure every week in magazine form that we have to tear up.
That was kind of what the original Warhammer Quest was. You got new missions in White Dwarf. Sometimes you even got new tiles in White Dwarf. And the models were quite basic, but I mean, I'm sure they could just bung a load of modern equivalents into it, just an updated rule set, and people will go mad for the nostalgia. Basically, they need to do to what they need to do to Warhammer Quest is what Hasbro did with Hero Quest, and just
let the trademark expire so someone else can run a Kickstarter campaign and run off with all the money before actually doing it yourself.
Didn't expire. They bought the company that originated it. I mean, it was GW did the aesthetics and MB basically did the game. Then Hasbro brought out MB, and yeah, we all know that. But it's like Space Crusade. There's versions of Space Crusade out there that have none of the GW IP associated with it, but it's still basically the same game that was just sort of carried on, and they just changed the visual elements of it, but it's still Space Crusade or Star Quest.
Right. So I've made my feelings known on Curse City. I don't care anymore. They're nice models. If I get a chance to own them at some point and paint them, I will not complain, but it's just been too much.
Yeah.
Too much drama.
Pretty much. So I think I don't feel like they've stolen anything from me other than I don't want to buy their product. And I don't feel like that's me losing something. Mm-hmm. I don't feel that like the loss of excitement to spend money is me being robbed as much as me not hungry. Take it back to the kitchen.
Yeah.
See, I feel similar, but it's just with these expansions. That's where I have the problem. That you're paying 30 quid for a pack of cardboard, and it's absurd.
I mean, if it had been sold, if it hadn't sold out right away, I probably wouldn't have been pissed off, and I would have bought it. I'd probably be buying it later this year, but because Games Workshop doesn't sell games, they sell toys. That's not actually what they said. There's some old quote that they don't sell games. Somebody said to an investor meeting to a big round of applause, they don't actually sell games. They sell the model soldiers. They're a model making company, and the investors loved it, and the press took and ran with it to make fun of them. I think the sentiment is that they're making money off of selling the models, and they sell the games to build this cohesive narrative of the models. But they also, I'm pretty sure it's also one of those things like fashion magazines where they could pay people twice the cover price to read the magazines and still see the same profit, because good fashion magazines will make a crap load of money from the advertisements. But if people were being paid to read the magazine, they wouldn't read the magazine without any longer than they absolutely had to, so they wouldn't stare at the ads. So as long as GW is making the rules, if they're not charging for them, people won't care about them. That's a tangent.
It is.
Tangent gone. Hey, did you hear about our next topic, which I really should have filled in? Cavil 40K.
Yes.
18% share price bump on a certain Friday. Geez, does anyone know what happened that Friday?
Well, I think this was all a big kerfuffle, shall we say. It was certainly Warhammer stuff was spread far wider than its usual circles. I was hearing it all over the internet because, of course, Henry Cavill, famous as he is, suddenly after all the big drama spreading about, was it Superman? He quit first, and then
I think it was The Witcher. He quit first, and then
Witcher.
the news came that DC didn't want him for the next Superman film.
Yeah.
The things I heard were that the when they were doing the reshoots for Justice League, he tried to get out of showing up for them. He brought up that he had to have a mustache for his current role. If he shaved it, he'd then have to go back to filming the current role, and they'd have to.
I remember that one because he had the awful CGI face in that, didn't he?
Now, I can't tell, but I know they also spent like a small town's income on making that work, so that probably means a small town worth of labor to make that work. And I can't really think of a time he's said anything about doing any more Superman whatsoever. No, I don't count showing up as random cameos in a high school lunchroom as him saying he's returning as Superman. I count that as Henry Cavill dicking around because it's fun to put on the Superman costume and make a screaming moment of somebody else's film. I wouldn't be surprised if the reason that his agent was insisting he was returning to Superman up until this was announced was that he had some weird contract where he wasn't supposed to say he was quitting until he had the next project lined up.
Fair. That's probably pretty standard, to be honest, that you're not allowed to share details like that publicly. Yeah. But yeah, it certainly seems like talks have been going on with Games Workshop for quite a while, which would explain that was it the start of last year?
I called it!
When you went to visit them? Yeah, I think a lot of people called it, oh, he's in talks with them to make the Warhammer Cinematic Universe. I remember hearing that a lot around, and turns out he was.
I don't remember hearing it a lot around. I remember being the only one who's saying it, and people just kept going, well, I guess maybe.
I mean, I think it was quite apparent. Right. I think it was quite apparent that GW would be trying to grab a hold of him as soon as he started talking more and more about it on panel shows or talk shows or whatever he was on.
Yeah, he's certainly been bumping it up.
Oh, what was it? The Haunting of Hill House guy. Rahul Cole? Him. This guy.
Oh, Rahul Kohli. Yeah, he was in iZombie.
So he's been very excitedly painting junk on Twitter. I guess he like all of us, he didn't exactly go through 2020 without a few moments of and finally gave in to the childish urge to amass plastic soldiers, and he's actually pretty good at painting them. But the fun bit was the Wednesday before the Henry Cavill announcement, he jokingly put out a tweet suggesting that he and Henry Cavill should work out who has the Warhammer TV IP and make something. And like 10 minutes later, Asa Butterfield,
yeah, from Sex Education,
wanted to join in, even if he was just a servo skull or something stupid.
Yeah.
And I just realized they're all English.
Yes.
So it's not just Henry Cavill who thinks this is awesome.
And if you remember his appearance on the Graham Norton show, Tom Holland was on the sofa as well. And when Graham Norton was kind of like taking the piss, Tom Holland asked Henry Cavill if he could come around and play Warhammer. So
I'm annoyed that So the Spider-Man, I think the DC and Marvel miniatures games are made by the same company, aren't they? They didn't just like send the two of them a gift box and said, "Please show off" or something.
Mhm.
But yeah, Tom Holland thought it sounded interesting.
Yeah, we could be seeing a lot of people move to it. Definitely with Amazon investing, it's it could go either way. That's the thing at this point.
Yeah.
Like, people are pinning a lot of hopes on Henry Cavill and his like passion for it as kind of being the driving force. But there's a lot of things that can happen in production processes that will take things away from, their original intent.
Yeah, I think that's why he's going to be a big part. He's going to be like an executive producer on it as well. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been kind of like, just like acquired wisdom that the reason GW hasn't done this move before is because of the changes that any studio would demand to the IP in order to like hit the market that they want, which isn't necessarily hitting the same market that GW want to hit and such and such. So yeah, having someone that invested in preserving the integrity of the IP is a big thing. But then, yeah, this is the Warhammer hobby, and there's a big chunk of this hobby of filled with people that think that if you like Warhammer, you're not really a fan. So there's gonna be people laying into it, and
We're gonna have the whole argument over like, oh, it's gone woke because like there's a black character or something in it. We're gonna have all the argues like, oh, it's not being true to law how I interpret it.
yes,
There's gonna be a lot of that, no matter which direction they go with it.
There was a woman in the corner of the frame for 3 seconds. Women aren't supposed to be there.
I think
no girls allowed. If they're not going to touch me, they're not allowed.
I think my big fear is that whoever's running this, because Henry Cavill won't be the only person producing it.
No, but he's the big name attached to it, and it's his clout that is going to be getting it done.
In my mind, because Henry Cavill is attached to it, that's a big guarantee that a certain number of butts will sit down to watch this.
Yeah.
And that will mean Amazon's willing to put up with them doing weird stuff like having it be humans versus demons or human versus orcs. We won't need like two sides with one an analogy for the USA and one an analogy for China. We can have aliens with no clear analogy.
That would be good. It would be nice to have some kind of project that isn't like kind of veiled political propaganda.
Yeah, I mean,
but the entirety of the 40k setting is veiled political propaganda. Really?
Yes.
That's the thing. That's
issue
is the corner
that
of
the entirety of the 40k setting is making fun of terrible politics rather than the usual things like the Expanse, which have a very clear bias towards U.S. good, China bad.
Yeah, but the thing is, with science fiction, the very foundation of it is political. Everything is an allegory.
It's art. Everything's going to be political. You're either going to be hiding your political beliefs and trying to represent what you think the audience wants, or you're going to be waiving your political beliefs and showing the audience what you believe.
Yeah, I mean, science fiction is holding up a mirror. And what you see in that mirror, it might be green instead of pink or whatever, but it's still allegorical. And at its core, science fiction is an allegorical narrative. Even from the very first science fiction novel, which is, we all know, is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, it was her observations of a scientist performing dissections on like hanged criminals and all the different things and making like little nerves twitch and arms move and everything, and that was what gave her like the background for the idea of when does man reach too far, and that's the whole basis of the very first instance of this genre. You look at any science fiction that's been produced, anything that's just showing something that's too alien doesn't really do well. There has to be something that you can relate from like modern society in these supposedly super alien creatures or sort of wide-reaching concepts. There needs to be that grasp. So anything that gets done is going to be seen to have a political agenda, whether it's true to what someone has interpreted or not.
So here's hoping the Imperium continues to be portrayed as everyone's nightmare of a future political system.
Pretty much. Although I suppose if they're going to go with the poster boys and they do something with like the Ultramarines, McCrag is kind of one of the few worlds or regions that aren't actually horrendous living hellscapes.
Well, that's just because the lore was written in the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they kind of stuck with it. McCrag is an okay place to be enslaved by a soulless Imperium.
In my mind, the issue with making a Warhammer 40,000 movie is a bit like the issue with making a Dungeons and Dragons movie, is a bit like the issue with making a movie about chess. Now, I know The Queen's Gambit was very successful. It was a movie about someone playing chess, but they weren't trying to represent every chess match and every chess match and every chess piece at once. And so when you make a Dungeons and Dragons movie and you remove the setting and you remove any major characters and it's just a movie set in the world of Dungeons and Dragons that has to cover everything. And then so if we get a Warhammer 40,000 movie that has to cover everything in Warhammer 40,000, we could have a problem.
We could do, but the talk isn't about there being a movie or it's like a cinematic universe. So they're going to do multiple projects, which clearly means that there's going to be like different settings.
I heard from the press release was that Henry Cavill was executive producing something for Amazon Studios with the 40K license. I know people have been talking about how he's going to change. He's going to change it to being in the Custodes, but he hasn't said that. Nobody attached to the project has said that.
Yeah.
Nobody can see it now, but like I'm flicking my eyes in a way that they look terrified and glowing on screen because I'm worried I've just shot down Aimee mid-sentence without meaning to. Not Aimee, sorry. I'm worried I've shot down Tammy mid-sentence. And
that's okay. I had to cough anyway.
Because Tammy's got her camera off and Amy's hidden behind a piece of paper.
That is actually my softbox. It's a big lie.
Oh,
sorry. So why don't I try to patch together a section discussing new paint? Because after that 52 miniatures video I'm going to discuss what it came to life on what would be poorly matching colors, and then when the washes and final detail layers went on and it became this matte masterpiece, I wanted to go out and buy all new paints.
Nice.
I don't know why. I just wanted to go out and buy all new paints. So it was fun to watch.
Well, talking of paints, Pro Acryl just released the Vince Venturella and John Nenus line of paints. That was interesting. I'm definitely going to be picking up the Vince ones, probably the John ones as well. We'll see.
I don't have any experience with Pro Acryl.
They do the best white on the market. Everyone should own Pro Acryl white. It's fantastic.
Two things I'm really interested in paint-wise. Well, three things. I keep hearing people say Scale 75 is great, but it's really matte.
I love that matte effect, yes. I love Scale 75 paints too. They're fantastic.
As well, I'm, like everyone else, curious about the next versions of Speed Paint and Color Express, even if, unlike everyone else, the way they're spelled Express makes me grind my teeth. I am curious about Pro Acryl. I'm also curious about Chimera colors, but I'm unemployed, so I'm not buying either.
Chimera cool. I've got the magenta from their range. They're very, I forget the thing with them, but they are just like very pigment rich. So you just, they're pure pigments. So I assume it's just a single pigment, and they're very, very strong. So you water them down and they go a long way.
The bit I remember hearing is that they're doing model paints with the same process you do for art paint, for upmarket art paint, in that It's Sigma pigment. If they change pigments, they tell you. So that's it. That's our discussion of new paints you could look into this year if you are so inclined. So peer review is our attempt to keep the audience's gaze as broad as our own. Maybe. Maybe it's a cheap trick to chew through a few more minutes and look cool in our podcast. Either way, a few things have stuck out to us during the last week, fortnight, from the world at large, and we would like to point at them because we wish we'd done things like that as well.
Yep.
Or we will do things like that as well. Tammy, I haven't asked you before we started recording. Sorry. Well, I asked Amy when we started recording, and you couldn't hear us.
Yes.
Tammy, you have a peer review thing.
There is someone that I've mentioned them before, and that's Eric's Hobby Workshop. He put up a Necromunda playable piece of scenery. He started years ago, and then he's just come back to it. And bearing in mind that, going forward later this year, a lot of my terrain projects are going to be things that I actually started ages ago, and now I'm finally getting around to them. So yeah, it was. It's a really fantastic video. It's essentially building like a vertical slum set in like the underhive of Necromunda, using like big chunks of. Yes, that's the one there.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean he's done like Necromunda stuff before, and this is like very much along the same lines. But I like the idea of like playable verticality, especially with skirmish games or like small 40k games, and it looks really, really good, and it's just a lot of simple techniques put together incredibly well. It's superb.
So my behind the scenes anecdote to add to this is that he's moved from somewhere in the middle of the US to somewhere in the middle of Canada, which means all this came with him and he kept working on it. Dedication.
Yeah, it is dedication.
It's going to be difficult to move.
I mean, I suppose if you have a big enough truck, there's not going to be much in the way of actual shipping on ships or sticking in the hold of an aircraft. But yeah, that's a lot of stuff, and he's got a few projects on the go at the moment. I'd like to see some more of them, because I'm like sort of at that point where I've seen the first two parts. It's like waiting for the third. When's the third? Oh, here's another thing. Oh, it's brilliant, and the next part's coming. It's like, oh no, wait, hang on. And so there's a lot of projects up in the air, which, I mean, when you look at those viewing figures, it's obviously not doing any harm whatsoever to the channel. But yeah, the guy's fantastic, and I get a lot of my scenery ideas from watching his videos.
But I think my real sort of, wow, this is wonderful, this is delightful, this is amazing thing was 52 Miniatures Turnip 28 model that he did like 3 or 4 days ago, or 3 or 4 weeks ago. So he named the channel 52 because there were 52 miniatures in the Soul Wars box set. The host, Alex, works, I think, for a human rights charity, but I know he did say he has some background in media production. He's a joy to listen to because the man is possessed of an inviting, modest confidence, and stuff he paints has no damn business being on as easy on the eyes as he. Turnip 28 is just somebody's goofy idea of what if the Napoleonic soldiers were actually turnip people, and it went nuts from there. And now Turnip 28 is doing a Kickstarter, I think, with real rules. So Alex just sort of edited a live stream of him doing one, and that was amazing because I don't think I've seen all the approaches of wet blending and oil washing and such all put together as one and demonstrated so competently. It's like getting, don't want to sound dismissive by saying it's like sitting down in a clean flannel blanket and realizing you've been in crappy polyester sheets for the last 20 years. But it is sort of this why isn't real life as smooth and comfortable as this guy made it look? So
cool, those look very nice. I have to check that out. I'm a fan of 52 Miniatures. He does have a very soothing voice and attitude. One of those ones kind of like Goobertown, who's almost ASMR.
But yeah, no, the little turnip man with some sort of pipe that may or may not be permanently attached to his body, wandering around and tooting with his filthy oil wash and brightly colored mismatched clothes was a delight to see as just a sculpt, and then adorable when it came to life with the poorly matching colors, and then when the washes and final detail layers went on and it became this matte masterpiece, I wanted to go out and buy all new paints.
Nice.
I don't know why. I just wanted to go out and buy all new paints. So it was fun to watch.
Well, talking of paints, Pro-Acryl just released the Vince Venturella and John Ninus line of paints. Peer review, yes. This one is from Johnny Wong, and just look at it. Like, look at the amount of NMM. The Helldrake kit is an absolute nightmare to do, and I can't imagine doing it in M&M, the time it must take to just get all of those lights looking right. But this one is just fantastic.
So he's got this sexy, horribly magnificent glowing effect across, or shining reflective effect. It's the non-metallic metal effect. Instead of painting with a reflective paint, you paint how the reflection would look. And they've done it in red and blue, and the head looks a bit purple. What jumps out, I'm describing audio in case somebody's listening on podcast, but what jumps out at me is the tips of the wings look like they're full of skulls.
Yeah, all completely freehand. They're not part of the base kit. Well, I do know they're not part of the base kit, but I'm pretty sure they're all freehanded and not sculpted on details.
Yeah, because the wings are just
magnificent,
flat plastic panels.
Yeah, those panels are the bane of my life. I did it once, and oh god, it'll take a lot to make me do another Helldrake.
Why are they so hard? Is it just because
there's just so many bits of metal trim everywhere? It is very hard to do effects like this where the lighting is visible over the whole paint job, because you've got like different bands of colors, which is very tricky. And even if you do regular metallic paint, you have to spend ages going over all those trims, and just the amount of work that must go into something like this is absolutely staggering.
So looking at this, now that you've said that, I think I see what you mean. A Black Legion Chaos Space Marine has big black body with a lot of Baroque curvy edges around his armor, and everyone hates it, but it's just one guy. I'm guessing each wing is like as much work as one of those.
Oh, and easily, yeah.
This thing's got like 6 wings, and then it's got the arms and the head and
so many little panels, so much trim. It's just all over the place. It's a cool model, and I like that it nods back to some like vague shapes that were in classic John Blanche images. But yeah, it's a nightmare to paint, and fair play to someone for getting it just this good. Right. Well, it's been great talking to you both. I hope everyone at home's enjoyed it. Well, that's been a January episode of the Treecast. We hope you all subscribe to Bleeding Tree Gaming. Check out some of the other videos on our channel.
We've got some good stuff coming.
Monday.
And ask Aimee for a commission.
Yeah.
She has lots of free time.
Yeah, sure. I will try and fit in any commissions as soon as I can. My schedules, it varies.
Well, hellish, I'm trying to make fun of you, but now that it's all, if it gets left in, it's just making me look.
Well, it's been lovely. Take care, Twiglets. We will see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Breeze on, happy little trees.
Indeed.